What's the worst pickup line that actually worked on you? When my brother invited me to his girlfriend's family Christmas, I thought he was being kind. Then we walked through the door and he announced to the entire living room, "Everyone, this is my sister. It's her first Christmas since the divorce, so let's all be extra supportive." He grabbed my arm and walked me toward a man by the fireplace and said, "This is my girlfriend's uncle. He's divorced too, so you'll have plenty to talk about." I watched my brother smile as he walked away, and I realized I wasn't here because he cared about me. I was here to make him look good by comparison. The uncle immediately said, "I'm so sorry about that introduction. Being divorced isn't actually my whole personality." I laughed and told him I was pretty sure my brother thought it was mine. His name was Clark, and he had this warm way of giving me his full attention that made me forget anyone else was in the room. He asked me what I actually enjoyed doing with my time, and I didn't have good answers because my ex-husband had opinions about everything from how I spent my money to how I spent my weekends, and I'd spent 4 years disappearing into whatever he wanted me to be. Clark told me about the trips he'd taken since his divorce, places like Portugal and Japan, and a villa he'd rented in Greece for a month just because he could, and when he asked where I'd want to go if I could go anywhere, I found myself saying, "I always dreamed of traveling, but my ex had other priorities for my paychecks." Clark just nodded and said, "Well, that's going to change now, isn't it?" At dinner, my brother kept interrupting to bring up my apartment and my job and my situation, and at one point he loudly said, "She's actually living in a studio now, can you believe that?" Clark turned to me and said, "I lived in a studio for a year after my divorce. Best year of my life. Nobody else's dishes in the sink." The whole table laughed and my brother's smile went tight. A few minutes later, he tried again and said, "She's still working that same dead-end job too. Some people just don't know how to move on." I felt my face burn, but before I could respond, Clark said, "I don't know. I think there's something admirable about stability during a hard year." I noticed his watch when he reached for his wine glass, and it probably cost more than my car, but he never once made me feel small. After dessert, the girlfriend's family started a gift exchange game, and Clark and I ended up on the same team. We won by a landslide, and at one point, Clark whispered, "Your brother looks like he's about to throw something." And when I glanced over, my brother was gripping his glass so hard I thought it might shatter. He wasn't just annoyed anymore. He looked like he wanted to drag me out of there by my hair. Later, I was refilling my drink in the kitchen when Clark found me and said, "I hope this isn't too forward, but I'd really like to take you to dinner sometime. Somewhere with a passport requirement. I have a place in Italy that's been feeling empty lately." I opened my mouth to say yes when I heard my brother's voice behind me say, "What exactly do you think you're doing?" Clark stepped back and my brother walked right up to me and said, "I asked you a question." Before I could answer, he laughed in this cold way and said, "You know what? It doesn't matter. That's not why you're here." He told me he'd invited me because his girlfriend's family was wealthy and connected and he needed them to see he was the stable one who had his life together. He said, "You were supposed to be the example of what happens when someone makes bad choices. You were supposed to make me look good. Instead, you're out here flirting like you have something to offer a man like him." I tried to walk past him and he grabbed my arm and pulled me back and said, "No, you need to hear this because clearly nobody has ever told you the truth." I tried to pull away, but his grip tightened and he leaned in close and said, "You're not a catch. You're a cautionary tale. And the fact that you don't know that is exactly why your marriage failed." My eyes started to sting and I couldn't find any words because part of me wondered if he was right. Then I heard Clark's voice from the doorway say, "If she's what failure looks like, I'll take two." My brother spun around and went pale and started stammering, but Clark walked right past him and offered me his hand and said, "Want to get out of here?" We got married 3 weeks later at a courthouse with nobody from my family present. I quit my job 2 months after that, and now I travel whenever I want and spend money without asking permission and wake up every day next to a man who has never once made me feel like a cautionary tale. My brother still won't speak to me, and honestly, that might be the greatest gift he's ever given me.